channel, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to sew a fluffy princess skirt. This is a pretty basic project, but I'm making this for a smaller waist. I'm making this for a 4-year-old, and so I will show you guys how to adjust the size of the skirt based off their waist size. Depending on if you're making this for yourself or someone else, all you need to know is pretty much their waist size. So yeah, now let's get started. Okay, so with this you need two different types of fabric. You need just a plain white fabric. Since I'm making this for 4-year-olds, I don't need a lot of this, probably depending on the age wise, not age wise, the size of the waist. I only have like a yard here, or like a half a yard is plenty, because this just goes underneath your main skirt. And then yeah, so how it becomes a fluffy skirt is you have to get some kind of like fluffy material. I have this one, which let me show you. It's just a piece of see-through fabric, and then it has a bunch of these little pink ruffles sewn into it. So you can find this at your fabric store. You don't have to use like this type, but you can just use, you know, some of those like really cool like fluffy ones, or you can just do the white. But this is what's gonna make it a fluffy princess skirt. So yeah. So the waist size I'm doing it for is a 22-inch waist. And so what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna cut you're going to want to cut your fluffy piece of fabric, so you're going to take your waist size and times it by 1.5. So I would make mine 33 inches long, and then however like lengthwise you want to do it. Now grab your inside fabric. I have a white fabric. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to take their waist size and times that by 1.5. So for me that would be 33 inches, since the waist size I have is 22. So I'm going to measure out 22 inches. 33 inches. So yeah, and then you can make it however long you want to do it. I'm going to be cutting mine so 33 inches wide, and then 18 inches that way. So I'm going to cut that piece of fabric, and I'll be right back. So I just cut my piece of fabric, and this is just the slip underneath, so it doesn't have to be 1.5 times. I did not have quite enough fabric for that, so I'm short like 4 inches, but since it's a slip underneath, that is okay. So right now I'm just going to take the bottom of it, and we're going to hem this. So I'm just going to fold it over about 1/4 of an inch, and then another 1/4 of an inch, and then that. And I'm just going to do that all the way down, and then just do a straight stitch just to hem the bottom of the skirt. Okay, so I just did that stitch. So now I have it hemmed, and don't forget to back stitch when you start and when you finish. So now that I have that all hemmed, I'm going to go ahead and take this bottom piece and set it aside. So now I'm going to grab my fluffy pink fabric, and I'm going to cut my piece maybe a little bit more than 1 point, then I might do maybe 38 inches instead of 33, just to give it a little bit more space and a little bit more fluff. And I'm going to do the 18 inches down. So I'm going to cut my piece of fabric, and I will be right back. So now that I cut my piece, I forgot to mention, my fluff actually goes in a particular way, like it falls down, so that means you're going to have to make sure it lines up with how you want it to do. Now I'm going to take the bottom of it, and technically the furthest bottom is this, but I'm going to fold that back and take like this little net that is holding it all together, I'm going to hem the net just because it's a little, because I cut it with scissors, it's just not the prettiest. So I'm just going to hem that. So I'm just going to again fold it over 1/4 of an inch and then another 1/4 of an inch. And then I'm going to pin that. And then I'm going to do that pin the whole thing, and then just do another stitch. And don't forget to reverse stitch. And yeah, and make sure you don't get any of the other other piece stuck in it when you sew it. So yeah, I'm gonna do that, and I'll be right back. What I'm gonna do is that I hemmed my fluffy piece. I am taking my white piece and I'm putting it face up. And so my hem side's at the bottom here. I'm gonna grab my pink piece and put it face up, and I'm gonna have my hem side at the bottom too. And now what I'm gonna do is, since my pink piece is longer than my white piece, I'm going to be pleating it. So I'm going to grab the end of both pieces, and I'm gonna pin it here, and then I'm going to grab my seam remover and go 1 inch away. And with your seam remover, you can do pleats. So I just put it under here like this, and then I just fold it over. I'm gonna pin that, and I'm gonna go ahead and make pleats all the way down my fabric until they line up the right size. So I'll be right back once I do that. So I did that, but I also forgot to mention that you want to leave about 1 inch between the top of your white and then where you pin your fluff, because you're going to have to fold it over and make a casing for the elastic, and it looks really weird if you have to fold over some of your fluff, so it's going to stick up, and that's going to be a little weird. So you don't want that. But now what I'm going to do is, now that I have it all pinned, I'm just going to do a straight stitch all the way down to lock in the fluff to my white fabric. So I'm going to do that, and I'll be right back. So now that I have it all sewed on, I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to take the top part, and I'm going to fold the edge about 1/8 of an inch, and then I'm going to fold it over. And also, you're going to need some elastic. I have 1.5 inch white elastic, and what you're going to do is take the size of the waist and minus 2 inches, so mine is going to be 20 inches of elastic. So you just want to make sure I'm about to make a tunnel, and you want to make sure the tunnel can fit your elastic through it. So I'm going to fold over 1/8 of an inch, and then fold over another 1.5 inches to 2 inches. And I'm going to pin that, and yeah, I'm going to do that all the way down, and I'll be back once I do that. Pinning it, and I forgot to mention, you want to pin it so you don't pin any of the pink fabric, so you can just flip it over. We'll open it, and the pink is over here, and your white is over here. See, because if you look at the back, it's only pinned on the white fabric. So now what I'm going to do is just have it like this. So I just do a straight stitch right there, and don't forget to back stitch. I'll be right back once I did that. So I did that stitch, and now what you're going to do is you're going to want to take your elastic, and you're going to cut it 2 inches shorter than that person's waist. So yeah, my elastic, and now I'm just going to put a safety pin in one end of it, and start at the one end of the tunnel, and you're just going to move the safety pin through the tunnel, and you should be carrying the elastic behind it. So I kind of just scrunch it all up and then pull it back onto the elastic. And you're going to do this until it gets all the way through. and I'll be right back once I get it all the way through. And if you have one end of your elastic, you can, if you're scared that it's going to go in the tunnel, you can pin it to the end it's coming out of. So yeah, I'll be right back once I finish pulling my elastic through the whole tunnel. Okay, so I got my two ends of elastic and I got them through the tunnel. And so now what I'm going to do is just go ahead and put one on top of the other and then just do, go back and forth on a straight stitch a few times right here, just to make sure it is nice and secure so it doesn't, the elastic never like comes apart or anything. So I'm going to do that stitch and I'll be right back. Okay, so now that that is nice and secure, I'm going to take the fabric and kind of just evenly distribute it around that piece of elastic. And you're going to make sure those two ends that you're sewed are no longer visible. So now it's just that part of the elastic. So I'm just evenly distributing it. So yeah, this is what it should look like. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and, I'm going to pick up the fluffy side. So now I'm just going to take the underneath layer and I'm going to put it inside out. Okay, so now I'm going to put it inside out. This. And I'm just going to pull the pink through real quick. And now I'm going to line up the white side, make sure that elastic is nice and in there. And I'm going to go ahead and do a straight stitch on the end of the white just to close it, make it a skirt. So I'm going to do that straight stitch and don't forget to back stitch, and I'll be right back once I do that. So now that I did that stitch, I'm going to take now the fluff part. Now I'm going to flip it so the right side is out of my white fabric, and then the wrong side is out of my pink fabric. And I'm going to pretty much do the same exact thing I just did with my white fabric with this fabric. I'm just going to line it up and I'm going to do a straight stitch to close the fluff and make it a skirt. And don't forget to back stitch. And it is going to be harder to close this up, so I do recommend pinning everything and getting everything in the position you want to before you just do the stitch. So I'm going to do that and stitch it, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I just did that stitch, and now I'm just grabbing my scissors, and I'm just going to trim a little bit to make it a little bit neater and nicer looking. So I'm just going to do that. Got it. And now all you have to do is flip fluff over your white skirt, and it is done. I love it. So this is what it looks like. It is so cute, and I love it. Super pink and fluffy, and it's just the right princess skirt. So hopefully you guys like this video. If you did, like it and subscribe down below if you want to. And if you have any questions or ideas for my next video, make sure to put them in the comments below. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye guys!